Hello guys, welcome to episode 8 of the Virtual PPL series, and today we're going to have a look at crosswind landings and flapless landings. But first we'll look at the crosswind landings. And the preferred method that I use is the crab method, and that's where we allow the aircraft to crab into wind, so the nose will point directly into the headwind, and we'll keep it like that all the way down final. As we get towards the runway, when we round out, we'll kick the rudder in the opposite direction of the crab and line up with the runway. That's my preferred method for dealing with a crosswind landing. There is another method, which is the slip, and that's where you keep the aircraft lined up with the centre line the whole way down. That's not the method I prefer to use. I do prefer to use the crab method. But we will start our approach to this runway here. So the crosswind I've got set up is a 10 knot crosswind from the south, and as our landing will be on runway 270, it's a direct 90-degree crosswind from the left, so full 10 knots we'll experience. So we approach the airfield as normal, do the normal procedures that we would normally do. The only thing that's different is our approach will be slightly different and the picture will be somewhat different. But just to keep this moving quite quick, I'll keep the airspeed high for now, and I'll configure a bit closer to the ground.
Sometimes I get so mad, there's no controlling me. My thoughts get so bad, I'm like, I might grab.
Okay, so we're approaching our airfield, so we need to configure for landing, so we need to get the speed back into the white arc. Starting to see a red on the pappies there, so we're starting to get on the glide path. Bring back our power all the way, wait for the speeds against the white arc, and we can bring in 2 stages of flaps. Increase the power again to compensate for the extra drag. A little bit bumpy over these trees, so first of all you'll notice that the aircraft is pointing more to the left, but we're pretty much lined up with the runway. We are a bit to the right, but we will compensate for that now. Very bumpy here, so 2 white, 2 red is exactly what we're looking for. Increase the power as we're starting to descend a little bit more. So whilst it's a bit bouncy like this, it might be quite difficult to show you, but you can see the crab, and if we look from the outside it might be a bit more obvious. So the aircraft is crabbed to the left, and we're pretty much running down the centre of the runway here. Okay, so we can go ahead and give it a final stage of flaps. Very bumpy. 2 white, 2 red, exactly what we're looking for. Keep it coming down. Speed's pretty much bang on what we're looking for. Keep it crabbed into the wind, so to the south. Bring back that throttle now. So we're over the runway. About 10 feet above the runway. We'll round out. As we start to flare, just kick the rudder to the right, and there we go. And that's how we manage a crosswind landing. Okay, so for the next method, which is the slip method, we're going to keep the aircraft central down the runway, pointing central down the runway the whole time, using the rudder. It's a bit more difficult in my opinion. I do prefer the crab method, but some people find the crab method a bit difficult and prefer to use this method. So, turn final as normal, keeping the speed where we want it, about 70 knots. Being careful not to overshoot. There we go, not bad. Bit high, so we'll bring back the power a little bit. We'll go for a final stage of flaps. Let's get lined up with this runway. And then what we're going to do is we're going to push the rudder to the right, line up, and then we use left aileron, keep the aircraft straight on central to the centre line. our descent might be a bit higher than normal, so we need to increase the power. And if I show you from outside, you see that there's now no crab, but we have the same wind as before. You can just see there how much rudder's applied as well. So keeping that rudder to the right, keeping that aileron to the left, all the way down. Bring back the power. As you can see, we're still pretty central to the runway. And now we'll round out as normal, keeping the aircraft central to the central line, or as best as we can. So then, for the flapless landing, a few differences. Obviously we have no flaps, and our approach speed will be slightly higher. So typically we want to hold it around 70 to 80 knots, so 75 is a good ballpark figure, but 80 is also okay. You'll notice that the approach is much flatter as well, rather than being as steep with flaps. So it's a little bit more difficult without flaps. We don't have the extra lift, we've got to keep the speed up a little bit more, and our approach is flatter. But other than that, it's fundamentally the same. So on this one, we're not going to extend any flaps, we'll just keep the airspeed around 80 knots, and we will approach the airfield much more flat than we normally would. Got 2 white and 2 red, so just increase the power, anticipate the further descent. And as you can see, the picture of the runway that we normally see, it's much more flat in comparison to a landing with flaps. So just using the power to control our rate of descent, and using the pitch to control our airspeed. And we can bring back the power all the way, and it's landing as normal pretty much. Floating for days here, and that will be because of the higher airspeed that we had initially. So guys, that's it for this video. I hope it's been useful, and I hope you've learned something or it's helped you. If you do have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a like, and if you want to see more in the future, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you very much.